Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to head over to America once again, and we're going to return to a brewery that has now featured on the channel a couple of times before. Now, these guys are a very well established and very well respected brewery, although at the time of filming, it seems there's a bit of uncertainty about whether this brewery is going to continue. So I came across a bunch of their beers here in Hong Kong, and I really wanted to cover the brewery and try some of these beers while there was still the opportunity to do so. But fingers crossed, this brewery managed to find a way to carry on. Now, when it comes to this brewery, they are most definitely most famous for their different kinds of wild ale, sour beers, however you want to call them. Very pioneering in their local region when it came to this style category as well. And, you know, it kind of got so far that they developed a whole new sub-style, if you like, within the sour beer category. So definitely a brewery that you want to check out if you're into your wild ales and sour beers and stuff like this. But yeah, the beer that we're going to have a look at today is quite a bit different from the last one that we tried from these guys. We're going to continue on with this little mini series from this brewery that I'll be doing for you, and it is supposed to be a really nice one. In honesty, they had a list of all of these beers, and I picked this one because it was different and I liked the name of it. And that's kind of how it goes sometimes when you get a list of beers from the same brewery. So yeah, needless to say, I'm very, very curious to see how this beer is going to turn out. Hopefully it's another good one. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always, I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, we are going to head over to America, like I said. We're going to go to the state of Oregon in the American Pacific Northwest, and we're going to go to the city of Portland, which is somewhat of a beer mecca these days. So yeah, for this review, we are going to go to the wonderful Cascade Brewing, and this particular beer is called Figaro. It comes in at 8.4% ABV, and they're describing this one as a barrel-aged blonde with figs and citrus peel added into it. And I should also add that this is the 2015 vintage. But yeah, this is another one of the beers that I picked up from Carbon Brews, and they did me a very good deal on this one. I think this beer cost me 165 Hong Kong dollars, so like £16.50. 18 euros, $20 American, something like that. So considering that this is an import and that it's got quite a little bit of age on it, I got a very, very good deal on this one and the other Cascade beers that they sold me. So yeah, very happy with this one. A blend of barrel-aged blonde ales with figs and citrus peel. I do like figs as an adjunct in wild ales as well. I've had it a couple of times before. You know, figs, plums, grapes, I really enjoy those. But yeah, this should be different. The last one we had from Cascade was, of course, a blend of barrel-aged red ales, and it was a big beast of a beer, actually. But let's crack on with this one then and see how we get on. So, as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Cascade Brewing before, and we will no doubt add more to that list at some point in the near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated, and remember, you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the American playlist, along with a number of other things. That's being added to quite regularly because we do get a good selection of American stuff here in Hong Kong quite regularly. But make sure you check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well, because there are some pretty good things on the channel these days, I have to say. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit about Cascade Brewing once again then. So, Cascade Brewing, as I've mentioned to you already, are from the state of Oregon in the US Pacific Northwest, and they opened back in December 1998 in the southwestern part of Portland. So Portland, of course, for a period, I'm not sure if it's still the case, but it certainly had the highest number of breweries of any city in the world. I think Chicago might well have overtaken them these days though, although, you know, there's debates about city limits and all that. But yeah, Portland and Chicago, I think, have the highest number of breweries in their metropolitan areas, if you can call it that. But Cascade Brewing was founded by Art Lawrence, who is widely considered to have been a huge figure in the Oregon craft beer industry. He co-founded one of the first microbreweries and also the Oregon Brewers Festival, as well as being instrumental in having the laws changed in the state so that both brew pubs could exist and breweries could sell their beer on premises. And apparently the latter had been banned since the Prohibition era, which, if memory serves me correctly, was the 1920s in the US. But he apparently started homebrewing back in the 1970s, and then in 1986 he, along with Fred Eckert, opened Portland Brewing Company, and he remained with them until 1994. 4 years later, though, he founded the Raccoon Lodge and Bar and Cascade Brewing Company, and things kind of went from there. But in the early years, these guys were making more sessionable beers, pub ales as they called them themselves, and later in 2006, Art, along with brewmaster Ron Gansberg, began to experiment with aging and blending, and this led to the development of the Northwest Sour style, and this took, Cascade in a completely different direction, and that was what they became so famous for. But Ron would stay with the company until 2018. But just before they closed recently, we're filming this video in June 2024 just for reference, but today the brewery, or just before this, had over 1,500 barrels of regular beer. And they also had 9 fodders, which are giant 18-gallon or 6,800 litre barrels that are used for aging beer. There were 4 locations: the brewhouse production facility, the blending house, the brewing house, and the lodge, which are both of the bars, if I remember correctly. And the brewhouse had a capacity of 3,200 US barrels, which translates to about 520,000 litres per year, and this can be extended to 5,000 US barrels or 800,000 litres of beer per year. But the whole thing about this brewery at the moment is that in May 2024, Art Lawrence sadly died, and then a month later the company ceased operations. But apparently it had been agreed in 2020 that Cascade would sell to a group of owners that included those behind the Flyboy Brewery, because they were big sour beer enthusiasts, and Art of course wanted Cascade to continue after him. But Art's daughter said that this deal had never been fully concluded, and she was unaware that Art still owned the controlling stake in the company. So upon his death, the company passed into a family trust which couldn't financially support it, and apparently the liquor license also expired 10 days after his death as well. So yeah, they don't really have the legal right to brew beer anymore, from what I understand. So currently it's quite uncertain what the actual future of the brewery is going to be, but I mean, for beer fans like myself, hopefully somebody can step in and actually save them from just disappearing. That would be a terrible shame for a brewery that's been as pioneering as this, because many people will tell you these guys, when it comes to this Pacific Northwest style, as I would call it, or the Pacific Northwest Sour, these guys are the ones that created that. So yeah, other than that, I don't really know what to tell you about Cascade Brewing Company. As of June 2024, we're at the very end of June for this review. As of June 2024, these guys produced over 1,500 different beers according to Untappd, but of course many of those will be the different vintages and things like this. So yeah, if you want to learn more about this brewery, you can check out the brewery website while it's still up. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with things, and hopefully there will be someone steps in and saves this brewery. I bought 4 bottles of their beer, so I think we might need to save one and see over the next few months if somebody does indeed step in and save the brewery. But yeah, let's get on and actually have a little look at the beer itself. I'm very curious about this one, like I said. So you can see the artwork on this one is very similar to what we saw from the Sang Royal that we reviewed a few videos back, although this one is obviously a fantastic shade of green. You can see the 2015 vintage on the side there. This one only has a gold top on it there, and you can see the cork too, but it tells you a little bit about the beer on the back, so I'll just put that there if you want to pause the video and have a little look at it. But yeah, it says on the side here, Figaro is a blend of sour blonde ales aged in Chardonnay barrels for up to 18 months with dried white figs, lemon peel and orange peel. Elegant and complex, Figaro features flavours of dried figs, citrus fruit apple skins and Chardonnay wine with a subtle wild edge. But yeah, this looks pretty nice, I have to say. And I picked this one. I was with my friend Amanda at the time, and we basically agreed that we liked the name Figaro because of was it Mrs. Doubtfire, where Robin Williams does the Figaro, Figaro, Figaro. I think it was in a TV advert as well. So yeah, that was one of the motivations behind picking this particular beer. So yeah, we're looking forward to trying this one. So let's get it out and get on with the tasting then. 8.4% barrel aged blonde ale with figs and citrus peel. So let's do it. Oh, and this one actually, the twisty thing does work. It doesn't just snap off like the last one. So there we go. Let's get it open. Oh, nice little pop on the opening there. And yeah, let's get this guy out and into the glass. I have to say, that looks very, very nice. Okay, so there we go. Before the head disappears on this one then, you can see that it's poured with just under half a finger of a frothy, I would say kind of cream coloured head there. Some big bubbles sticking on the side of the glass. I think that's because we washed this one yesterday and then rinsed it out again this morning. But yeah, you can see some medium-sized bubbles on the surface of the liquid there. The head gets a little bit foamier the further up that you go, but it is just fading away to be a sort of thinner, foamy layer. But the colour of this one is really interesting. It's kind of like if you shine the light through it, it's kind of a bit like a blood orange type colour actually. Yeah, so remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. One, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. Two, length of your wort boil is going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour as well. And yeah, when it comes to these kind of wild ales and stuff like that, that does play quite a big role. So no doubt some of the colour in this one will be coming from the figs, some of it will be coming from the barrel, and some of it will be coming from the orange and the lemon peel. You can see the beer does have a bit of natural haze to it. There are wee bits of sediment particle floating around in this one, and that's to be expected of a beer that's 9 years old. It's been in the bottle, or I don't know, does it say exactly when it was bottled? Usually you get these beers the year after the vintage, because I think the actual vintage is when they brew the thing or put it in the barrel, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, all in all, this one a bit darker than I thought it was going to be, in all honesty, when they're talking about golden ales and things. But yeah, nothing else I think we really need to say about the appearance of this one. It looks really, really nice. I would describe this one as being a kind of blood orangey type colour. Same kind of colour as a West Coast double IPA, or one of the more caramelly ones, I would say. So yeah, I think that's everything about the appearance. Let's have a wee look at the nose on this one and see what it's all about. Oh, that does smell good actually. This is a proper kind of vinous, funky sort of wild ale, this one. It's really interesting. I mean, this is a whole different world of beer, really. My kind of gateway into these kinds of beers was Rodenbach, the Flanders red ales, and of course, things got more blonde from there, things got more kind of funky and stuff like that. Everyone has a gateway beer that they find into sour beer. But these kind of Pacific Northwest or Northwest sours that you have in the States, probably the closest thing I would have had to me in Sweden would be the likes of the Mikkeller Bauhalm beers. So yeah, the sort of, the specifically American ones, I think the American ones have a real kind of sharper edge to them than many of the European ones, if you like. So that's what distinguishes them from me. But yeah, American Pacific Northwest sours are a little bit hard to come across, actually. Yeah, so the way everything goes together in the aroma of this one is very nice. It's actually really, really like the aroma of this beer, I have to say. So yeah, you've got everything you'd expect. You get the kind of big citrusy note in there, you've got the vinous character, nice kind of green component to it, even despite its age, I would say. But then, yeah, you've also got the lovely kind of woody and funky character underneath. Beautiful smelling beer, this one. It always surprises me how well these things can hold up with age. But yeah, let's try and break this aroma down a wee bit then and describe it for you more in depth. So the backbone of the beer is, of course, that lovely smooth oak. As I've explained on the channel many a time, the American oak is quite different from the European oak. It's just that little bit smoother. You get a bit more vanilla and stuff out of it, and that's quite apparent in this one. You've got that lovely smooth American oak in here with quite a wee bit of vanilla. The sort of the thing with the fodders and stuff like that is, of course, they'll develop their own character over time. Like with Rodenbach, you have the proper Rodenbach nerds who can tell you about each different fodder that those guys have. But yeah, the sort of, well, the kind of barrel character that you're getting out of this one certainly has that big white wine Venice character to it. And from what I remember of Chardonnay wines, and I am by no means a wine expert, I find them a bit more kind of aromatic and citricy. So there's a good little bit of that in this one. And yeah, the way that that goes together is really, really very nice. So that big white wine citricy character that comes out of this is quite apparent in this one, but it's also quite mellow and seems to smoothen out a little bit. It's maybe more your nose kind of adjusting to the beer as you smell more of it as well. And for me, that's the big thing with sour beers. You're always going to have a hell of an impact from them, but the way they mellow out is a big part of the experience. And for me, if you get a good transition of flavours, that's what makes a good sour beer, in all honesty. So yeah, you've got a lovely kind of aromatic but juicy white wine Vinessy character coming out of this one. On top of that, of course, you do get little bits of, like, you know, fresh brown bready bread crust. There's wee hints of cracker and stuff in there. A mix of like sweet brown and kind of white bready character. Very smooth bready character at that, I would say. But there's little bits of, you know, very slightly toasty caramel. Little bit of Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy kind of thing. Yeah, the way that that goes together in this beer, I think, is very, very nice. The malty side of it's really, really nice as well, for sure. And you can just smell that little bit of the citrus peel on top of it. If you take the aroma in very, very deeply, like this, then you do get that little bit of the citrus character out of it. Lemon peel and orange peel in this one. So, yeah. I think the orange peel is a little bit more apparent in the aroma than the lemon peel is, but probably when we taste the thing, we will get more of both, actually. So yeah, I like that about this beer, definitely. In terms of the green component of this one, the beers, before being put in the barrels and blended, of course, will have some hoppy character in them. And you know, it's always interesting to ask sour beer breweries about their hopping mentality, because back in the day in Belgium, what they would do is they would put older hops into the sour beers because the alpha acid potency would have dropped away a little bit, and they didn't want the bitterness to distract and the hoppy character to distract from the sour side of the beer. So yeah, with this beer, of course, it has been aged in the fodder originally, and it's like, you know, quite a few years in the bottle, so a lot of that green component will have dropped out. Not all of it though. You can still smell it, and you'll probably still taste some of it as well. So for me, there is a little bit of earthy character in there. There is a little bit of herbal character, but you do get a nice floral aromaticity and quite a smooth grassiness out of this one. It's like a wet, freshly cut grassy character that you get out of this particular beer. It smells very, very nice. But the fruity side of this one's lovely. I mean, the fig is very apparent in this one, and for me, fig is this very smooth but very oily fruit, and the nature that it has in this one, it's kind of forming the backbone of the beer. But of course, you have little bits of like sultana, you know, dry white green grapes. There's maybe a little touch of an almost gooseberry note to this one as well, but certainly big oily pear. The fig is very apparent, as we said. So you get your fig, you've got your pear, sultana, and there's also just a little bit of a kind of fresh green apple, you know, and I think that's part of the kind of vinous effect that you have. I don't know if you should say vinous, never knew how to pronounce that word properly, but yeah, there's that whole kind of vibe going on with this one. So yeah, aroma, this one's very, very pleasant. I really quite like this one. So as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma and appreciate that. before you get stuck into the beer. But yeah, I think it's about time that we have a taste of this one and see what it's all about. So yeah, this one is the Figaro 2015 vintage. What was the percentage? 8.4, an 8.4% blend of barrel aged blonde ales with figs, lemon peel and orange peel from the wonderful Cascade Brewing in Portland, Oregon, over in the US Pacific Northwest. Let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte, skål, and cheers. Ooh, that's nice. I have to say, with this one, I think I like this quite a little bit more than the Sang Royal that I had a couple of videos ago. This one, I think this one probably holds up with the age a little bit more, because with the last one, the Sang Royal, the woody dryness I felt was starting to dominate over the grapey flavour a little bit, whereas maybe with the fact that this is a blonde ale rather than a red ale in the base, I think it maybe just stands the test of time a little bit more if you're keeping these beers in the bottle. I'd be curious to investigate that a little bit further going forward, because I think the two other Cascade beers that I have, one of them is blonde and one of them is red. So yeah, that's definitely something that I'll need to think about with these beers going forward. Perhaps the blonde ales actually survive the test of time a little bit more, because this one just feels a little bit more balanced almost than the Sang Royal did. So yeah, this is the whole thing with my YouTube channel. It's all about my beer journey. I'm 10, 11 years in now, still learning. You're always still learning about different ingredients and barrel aging and stuff like this as well. The sour beers there's a hell of a lot to those that I have no idea about, of course. But yeah, I just feel this one is a bit more balanced than the last one I had. So yeah, I like this. So big thumbs up to Cascade Brewing, of course, once again. But this is a lovely beer. You will enjoy this, I'm sure, if you're into these sort of things. But yeah, for me, the first impression it gives, really nicely balanced in terms of its flavour. It has got a wee bit of slickness to it, and the sort of sour balance that it has, I think, is great as well. Lovely, lovely beer, this one. You get big white wine vinous character, you get the citrus peel out of it, and it just mellows out really, really nicely and starts to give you the smoothness and sweetness into the aftertaste. So yeah, I like this one. So middle third of your palate then, to break the flavour of the beer down, you can feel the backbone of this one. It's that lovely smooth American oaky character in there. I think it's great. Yeah, lovely smooth American oaky character to this one. As you move further forward on that middle third of your palate, you get a little bit of the kind of smooth vanilla quality coming out of it, which I think is great. And then above that, you start to get you get the barrel layer, if you can call it that. I often call it the spirit layer, because most of the beers that I drink are aged in rum or bourbon or some other kind of barrel. So yeah, the barrel layer that you get in this one is really vinous, if you like. So you can feel that layer of nice kind of oily wine in there, but it's got a sharp aromatic and citrusy character to this one. As I say, my impression of Chardonnay is that when I've tasted one, it's always been quite juicy, but at the same time it has that little bit of sharp aromaticity and citricy kind of character to it. So yeah, the way that pieces together, I think, in this one is really nice. So you can feel that sharp aromatic citricy layer from the wine barrel in there. And then above that, you have the malty side of the beer. So you get this nice kind of fresh brown bready bread crust out of this one. So yeah, a little bit of a fresh brown bready bread crust in there, and on top of that you can feel there's a layer of quite dense but very smooth wholemeal brown bread, and then above that you get a nice white bready sort of character to the beer as well. So the bready side of this one's quite interesting, and I think you get more and more of the bread and the wood coming out of this one into the aftertaste. Yeah, I like that with this beer. I really do like how that goes together. So on top of that, you start to get the sweeter side of the malt base. So you can feel that there's a sort of, I don't know if it's right to call it leathery, but you get a very smooth layer of brown sugar in this one that has a wee bit of dryness into the aftertaste, and you can feel in the dead centre of your palate there's this little circle there which is like Werther's Original butter candy butterscotch, and maybe there's a little bit of toffee in the middle of your palate there as well. Some of that of course will be because of the alcohol. This one is 8.4%, not the highest ABV you're going to come across in this wild ale category and stuff like that, but it is yeah, it does come across very, very nicely in that regard. So yeah, I really like how everything in this side of things goes together. Actually, the malty side of this beer is really, really nice. But yeah, you can feel when you take like a slightly bigger gulp of this beer, you certainly can pick out the sort of citrus peel and things to it as well. I'm just trying to figure out where on the palate it's most prominent. But at that, I think we've covered everything we need to say about the middle third of the palate in this beer. So remember, sweeter flavours tend to come out further forward on your palate, more dry and bitter flavours come out further back. And yeah, with this beer, if we go to the back third of the palate, you're going to get very similar flavours in there, just at different intensities. So yeah, the border region between middle and back third of your palate, you get a nice little bit of bready build up in the base. So a little bit of brown bread in the base, white bread on top, and yeah, above on the base of that back third of your palate, you can feel you've got the nice woody character in there, which feels a little bit drier, of course. Then you've got the vinous character in there, which feels like it has a very slight earthiness to it in this case, but you're still getting, of course, the big sharp. Yeah, you're still getting the big sharp kind of aromatic and juicy side of the yeah, you're still getting the big aromatic and juicy side of the grapey character in this one too. But then yeah, you've got that bread crusty character in there, the brown bready bread crust. You can feel like a lighter, more tall and airy kind of fresh sweet wholemeal brown bread crust in this one. And then yeah, you have the white bready character in there as well, and that of course is taller, lighter, more airy. Then you can feel some of the drier brown bready character, the drier bread crusty character just creeping over the top of that as well. So yeah, all in all, the way that that goes together in this one is really nice. You get the drier bread crusty notes sitting on top of that. So yeah, the yeasty character of course sits above everything else on that back third of the palate there. So let's have a wee look there. Yeah, so the yeasty side of things on the back third of the palate, for me, at the centre of it, it's like a slightly dense wholemeal brown bready character. There's a bit of white bready character around the edge of it. Then you've got the nice kind of bread crusty notes coming out of it too. So yeah, you can feel that the way that kind of just pieces together is really nice in this one. So yeah, that sits above everything else on the back third of your palate. So yeah, the yeasty character in this one kind of lingers there into the aftertaste, and you get more of the dry woodiness and the slight spice pushing its way out into the aftertaste as well. But definitely, yeah, back third of your palate, you can feel the flavour is taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your tongue, it just condenses down a wee bit. But let's go to the green component of this beer then. As I said, you know, a lot of the hoppy character will have dropped out of this one as the beer's been aged and the bottle's got older and stuff like this. But yeah, back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of earthiness in there. As you move further forward, it's a little touch herbal, and as you move further forward along the sides of the palate. You get more floral aromaticity out of this one and a nice little bit of grassiness round the front curve of the tongue. You get that little bit of zesty, grassy character to it in there. So yeah, green component of this one, still some of it there, and it is quite nice. Let's round off the tasting then with a wee look at the front third of your palate. So yeah, border region between front third and middle third of your palate. Again, you get a little bit of the bready build up in there. Wholemeal brown bread in the base, the white bread on top, and a wee bit of toasty character sitting above that. But yeah, the base of the front third of your palate, you can feel there's a really nice sort of, yeah, you do get a nice little bit of woodiness underneath. Yeah, there's a little bit of that kind of woody, that you do still get some of the woodiness in there. I think you're getting more of the smoothness and more of the vanilla coming out of this one. But then yeah, above that, you have a nice little bit of the vinous character in there, and it feels a little bit more juicy on this part of the palate too. But then yeah, the brown bread crust, the brown bread, the white bread, and then yeah, you start to get the fruit, the adjuncty fruit in this one, and also that little bit of the oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters from the hops roll their way out of the beer. So on the hoppy side of things, like in that oily bubble, I think you've got sultana. There's a little bit of oily pear as well as you move further forward. So yeah, the sultanas kind of sit at the back, the oily pear as you move further forward, then the sort of fresh green apple-y type notes come out of the beer as well. But of course, you do get the nice kind of figgy notes coming out of this beer as well. Yeah, the figgy notes that come out of this one are really nice actually. They give the beer this kind of oily, juicy character, which I really, really like. So the figgy notes kind of seem to sit underneath that oily bubble almost, and you get the dryness out of them into the aftertaste. But I think on the border region between front and middle third of your palate, that's where you're getting the kind of citrusy peel notes out of this one. And in the flavour, I think it leans a bit more toward the lemon peel in the beginning, but then you get more of the orange peel coming out the further into the aftertaste that you go. But yeah, the way that all of this, the way that all the beer, all the components of the beer go together in this one, I think is really, really interesting. So yeah, this beer, it's a big thumbs up for me. I really like this one, and I think that's always one of the things you should try with a sour beer brewery. You try something from the kind of red side, and you try something from the more kind of blonde side, if you like. But I like the blonde ones, and I've got a feeling, I don't know why, but I have this impression that the blonde beers will stand up a little bit more to time than the red beers will when it comes to, you know, barrel aged, fodder aged, whatever sour beers. So yeah, interesting stuff, definitely. Yeah, let's round off this review then with a wee look at the mouthfeel. So for me, I would say this beer, it's I'd say it's, you know, in terms of beer generally, I'd say it's kind of mid-bodied. It's right in the middle of the spectrum. To me, it feels very, very clean. You know, it has it's got this little bit of slickness to it, and then of course you get quite a little bit of the dryness into the aftertaste. But the thing you'll find with this one, and as I say, with particularly with the Pacific Northwest sours, you get that kind of sharp punch when you take it in. So just behind the front curve of the tongue, that's when you feel the really kind of sour citric attack of the beer, and it just mellows out into the aftertaste, and you get all the nice kind of slightly leathery, kind of woody, funky type flavours in there. Because yeah, into your aftertaste you get the woodiness, the kind of leathery notes, and just this little bit of funk almost. So yeah, you can feel this beer has a nice, smooth and slightly dry sweetness to it. So that's really apparent in this particular beer. But yeah, your green component is there. Your IBU count on this beer is probably pretty low, like 5 or 10 IBUs, something like that. But yeah, the way that it all goes together, I think, is really nice. You've got a lovely kind of sharp citrus peel character to it, but that takes a wee bit of time to come out, I think. But the figs sort of balance that by giving you this lovely, smooth and sweet, oily quality. So yeah, this beer is all about balance. From the malty side of things, you've got the wood, the kind of dry wood underneath with the citricy character on top, the smooth malty character, the dry sweetness on top. You've got your green component in there, so it still does give you a little bit of grassy character, as we said. Then just that, you know, lemon peel sharpness and stuff at the back. The smooth figgy character, the little bit of fruit from the hop as well, and the wee bit of orange peel, which comes out later into the flavour as well. But this is a really nice, smooth, slick, and kind of dry sweet sour beer, this one. So it gets a big thumbs up from me. Yeah, the way that this goes together, I think, is really very nice. So big thumbs up from me, and a really interesting beer from Cascade Brewing Company. So yeah, let's just leave it at that for this one. So this one is Figaro, 2015 vintage, an 8.4% blend of barrel-aged blonde ales with figs, white figs, citrus peel, lemon and orange. So yeah, interesting stuff. Definitely try this one if you get the chance. But once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Cascade Brewing Company as well, and hopefully something good happens for this brewery over the next wee while and they can continue. But yeah, check out my social media, check out theirs, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Slàinte, skål, and cheers.